Ilmi başlısı gıda
Бүгінгі мәжілістің құрылымы барлығы мәжілісі сақталады. Магистрантқа сөз беріледі. Зашита Сәрсенбаева, бар Амиркәрім қызы. Регламент 15 Регламент
Aslında Tolga kazandıkları zor, böyle sokuyor. Hiç problemimiz yok.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zashita, and our dissertation topic is linguo-stylistic peculiarities of proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpak literary texts. So let's start our presentation. First of all, introduction. Introduction reveals the general survey of the whole work. It dwells on the actuality, object, subject, aim, tasks, scientific novelty, problems and hypotheses, methods, theoretical and practical importance of the research. So, first of all, actuality. Actuality. This topic is actual and relevant because it's topic on English and Karakalpak languages. And as you know, our Karakalpak language is not investigated enough so far. And the topic of proverbs and sayings is being plays significant role in language competency, and they're being important in learning language. And the topicality of the work sets conditions for revealing the degree of translatability of texts. And next, object. The object of our research is 200 units of proverbs and sayings selected from Oxford Dictionary of Proverbs and 200 units from Karakalpak folklore. And the subject of our research is the linguo-stylistic peculiarities, investigation of the linguo-stylistic peculiarities of proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpak languages. The aim the structural semantic peculiarities, differences, sayings in modern linguistics. And let's move to tasks. The tasks of our master's qualification are the following: to define the theoretical basis of proverbs and sayings, to find out stylistic peculiarities, to analyze extracts from fictional works, and to find out kinds of proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpak languages. And scientific novelty of the research is as follows: an analysis of the series of proverbs and sayings comparatively in English and Karakalpak languages, an analysis of proverbs and sayings in extracts from artworks, and the hypothesis of our work. The research hypothesis is to investigate stylistic peculiarities of proverbs and sayings comparatively in English and Karakalpak languages, promotes improving lexical and literary competency of learners, and increase their motivation for learning a foreign language. Theoretical importance of the research, the value of the research is to introduce the basic linguistic concepts and analysis of their theories used in this work. And the last practical importance of the research is the possibility of using its materials in the courses of lexicology, comparative typology, and the theory of intercultural communications. And the results of this work can also help students to enrich their lexical resources of English language. And English teachers can use these materials on practicing communicative skills in teaching process for practical seminar courses of stylistics and comparative typology. So let's move to chapter 1, theoretical framework of the research, definition and nature of proverbs and sayings. So proverb from Latin proverbium is a simple and concrete saying, popularly known and repeated, that expresses a truth based on general common sense and the practical experience of humanity, and they are often metaphorical. And defining proverb can be a difficult task because many linguists define the proverb differently. In American Heritage Dictionary from 2001, it's defined as a short thesis saying in frequent and widespread use that expresses a basic truth or practical concept. And more constructively, Meader, famous linguist, has proposed the following definition. A proverb is a short, generally known sentence of the folk, which contains wisdom, truth, morals, and traditional views in a metaphorical, fixed, and memorizable form, which is handed down from generation to generation. And Lord John Russell, 2 times Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, proposed his definition of the proverb. Proverb is the wisdom of one and the wit of many. So the topic and the problem of proverbs and sayings has been investigated in the works of our domestic scientists like Ashurova, Aznaurova, Molchanova, and others, and also in the works of foreign and Russian scientists like Galperin, Lotman, Sternin, Petrov, and others. So, classification of proverbs and sayings. There are 3 types of proverbs and sayings. They are universal, regional, and local proverbs. Universal proverbs are widely applicable across all cultures. For example, the early bird catches the worm, a stitch in time saves 9. Regional proverbs, specific to a region but recognizable in neighboring areas. For example, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And local proverbs are unique to a locality but often tied to specific cultural contexts. For example, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Localized versions exist in different locations, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Local variations may also exist. So, chapter 2, linguistic features of proverbs and sayings, stylistic devices in proverbs. The main feature distinguishing proverbs and sayings from ordinary utterances remains their semantic aspect, and the most noticeable thing is the functioning of proverbs and sayings in that way that They can be used in fixed ways. Stylistic devices in proverbs are ellipsis, metaphor, hyperbole, allegory, irony, metonymy, litotes, alliteration, assonance, and some other stylistic devices. So, typical stylistic features of proverbs with examples. Proverb: forgive and forget, practice makes perfect. In this proverbs, alliteration is used, and parallelism: nothing ventured, nothing gained. A little pot is soon hot. And rhyme: when the cat is away, the mice will play. Ellipsis: once bitten, twice shy. Metaphor: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And parallelism: when there's a will, there's a way.
Two minutes left.
Ah,
2 minutes left.
okay. And here you can see the other stylistic devices used in proverbs. Next, please. So, chapter 3, comparative analysis of English and Karakalpak proverbs in literary texts. Use of proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpak literary texts. So, let's compare Karakalpak proverbs with English proverbs. Көплеген қонақ атқарады деген сұ тұрымбет інім. Біздікінде жас балалар болған соң, сыныспаға түсеме деп отыр. And in Charles Dickens' Hard Times, we can see the equivalent of this proverb: many hands make light work. And here's also a comparison chart. Бөлінгенді бөрі жер деген, and English equivalent: divide, united we stand, divided we fall. Болар елдің балалары бірін-бірі батыр дейді, болмас елдің балалары бірін-бірін қатын дейді. Great minds build each other up, small minds tear each other down. Ақылды ел басқарар, ақымақ ел ашқарар. When there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs can be used in spoken and written forms in lectures, newspapers, speeches, books, fables, and poetry. So, figures of speech in proverbial wisdom. And they say this: the coward often dies, the brave but once. Қорқақ мың өледі, батыр бір өледі. Metaphor and antithesis: all is not gold that glitters. Жалтырағанның бәрі алтын емес. And here you can see other examples of stylistic devices. And in this slide also. And we have investigated 200 units of proverbs and sayings in English and Karakalpak languages. And the most used stylistic device is metaphor, next allegories and personification, paradox, hyperbole, and then the least used is metonymy. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next stage of our defense is questions. So, members, if you have any questions, you are very welcome.
I have two questions. Dilbar, please. Your work is devoted to saying proverbs and sayings, yes?
Yes.
What's the difference between proverbs and sayings? With examples, please. The
Proverbs
first
are,
question.
okay,
Second question, on the page 37 of your work, I see micro topic, economy of language. Well, are there any connection with this topic, your dissertation?
yes.
Two questions.
Okay, the first question, the difference between proverbs and sayings. Proverbs are concise expressions that convey conventional wisdom or advice. They can offer moral advice or general truths based on common sense or experience. For example, haste makes waste. A stitch in time will save nine.
That's all. Next.
And the sayings, on the other hand, are more general expressions that might not carry a moral lesson but still offer insight or observation. For example, the best things in life are free, health is better than wealth, better late than never. And the second,
Examples.
examples. Akıl just discussed that. It's a proverb and saying. And another proverb, going in the brochure.
Just to give examples.
Going in the brochure. And the second question, economy of language. With the help of proverbs and sayings, we can enrich our vocabulary by saying a little expression, but with the help of these proverbs and sayings, we can express an advice or insight with a few proverb and saying.
Satisfied? Okay, thank you. If you have, do you have? Okay. So please, Bisanya, Almazarna, who is your question?
Well, your topic is English and the Canadian literary text, yeah?
Yes.
So, which literary text have you analyzed from all or English literary text?
We analyzed the works of Galsworthy, Charles Dickens, some examples from Shakespeare's works. Karakalpak from works of Toleperyan Kalperyanov, and we took some examples from Karakalpak folklore.
Second question. At the end, you have analyzed more, well, you have found more similarities or differences between all two languages.
We've analyzed more similarities and differences.
More similarities or differences
More similarities. Yes, because proverbs and sayings show our cultural values and in every culture and life of people.
Bisanya, Almazarna, can we clarify the question? For example, you mentioned that at the end, in your presentation, you mentioned that meetup is the most frequently used stylistic device. So, is it in Karakalpak language most frequently used stylistic device, or in English? Which, or in both of them, we can find majority of using metaphor.
Yes, in two languages. in two languages we can find that metaphor is most used with stylistic device.
In both of them.
Yes, in both of them. If we see from stylistic aspect.
Satisfied? Okay. So the next question, in this case, only the first one I would like to ask just one question, and also I would like to give one suggestion. Maybe suggestions will be at the end in our discussion.
So, calculate in your how many English and how many Karabakh verbs and sayings are analyzed, and how many of them are from literary works.
200 units from English language, 200 units from Karabakh language, and approximately majority of them from literary works, and minority from fictional works.
Okay, thank you. So if we don't have any questions, let's move to the next stage, discussion. If you have any ideas, please. Firuza,
So I would like to give just one suggestion. So I have noticed here in your that while giving references, yes, you have used some kind of differences in these references. So for example, on page 51, you have used reference 3079 T point Q point. I think this book
Index.
selection. Yes, and also you have used another kind of references which is connected with this also, like T point Q point Karagafan Kızı, and you have given the page of this work. So I think that you should stop using just
one format you need to use. The index citation should be the same from the beginning till the end of the work. You can change the format of the citation. Clear? Okay. So, other recommendations? Okay, I have some recommendations. In your PowerPoint presentation, you presented the from your presentation, domestic scientists. But if we pay attention on the meaning of the word domestic, it relates with the family, with the close relationships. So that instead of domestic scientists, I'd like to recommend you to use local scientists. Clear? Because it is scientific work. It's not the joke. It's not the common everyday conversation. So we need to use formal language. In formal language, scientists should be called local if it is related with our territory. So then, about the images of the scientists, it is just a personal, my subjective view. Don't use in presentation images of the scientists. Because, for example, I know Dilumarna Ashurova, you presented Dilumarna in not appropriate view, for example. You made some changes in the zooming, I don't know, or I don't know what happened, but it is not Dilumarna, real Dilumarna. So that don't use because this is the step for preparing to the scientific work, for further continuation of the scientific work. In science, there is not any, let's say, you can't play with anything. Just formal language, yeah, more relevant should be all your actions. So then, in your speech, you said at the beginning that Karakol language is not investigated yet. But I couldn't agree here with you. You need to clarify enough investigated. But if we pay attention on the investigated works in our comparative linguistics, let's say, or contrastive linguistics, we can give you several examples of the work on the contrastive linguistics where we can see comparison of the English and Karakalpa based on the phenomenological units or proverbs. Clear? So pay attention on your words also. Then you are going to be scientist in the future, so that your presentation should be also, let's say, relevant to the scientist's view. I know that the hair is the beauty of any kind of women, but anyway, this is the facts. And everything should be in dress code. You should follow this dress code. In dress code, we can include several points. Here, okay. So that's just my the last one about at the beginning. You mentioned about the objects of your dissertation, and you mentioned about Karapapa 4, but the topic is literary text. So, in the objectives of your work should be literary text rather than folk materials. Clear? Yes, we know that proverbs are the units of the folk, Karapapa folk, English folk, but anyway, you are going to investigate literary text where you use proverbs, and in literary texts, proverbs, stylistic devices. Clear? Thank you. Other recommendations? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your suggestions, and in our next works, I will consider your suggestions. And thank you.
So, about reviews. You may sit, you may sit. Сейчас забираю, знакома.
So master's dissertation paper summarizes about the study of English stylistic peculiarities of proverbs and sayings in Harvard and English literary texts for the academic degree master's in specialty. Master's dissertation paper thesis on written by Zashita is fulfilled on the current saying English stylistic peculiarities of proverbs and sayings in English and Harvard literary texts. The same is being important and relevant for a number of reasons. First of all, there is a emphasis on the Karapak language, which was not investigated enough and it's not given quick attention. There were studies, proverbs and sayings, they were compared in English and Karapak. Proverbs and sayings have the significant role on in language and the competencies that are being developed in making the speech richer and more colorful. Without knowing possible meanings and the interpretations of proverbs and sayings in Karapak and the In most languages, it's impossible for the teachers to give all the knowledge for the teacher technologies and teachers in teaching process. The aim of dissertation paper is to research and analyze the English styles inequalities of products and things in Yoruba and English with the request to achieve the meaning they will set up following objectives. To overview the general problems of products and the sayings in English and Yoruba, stylistic inequalities of methodological words and the aim and the objects set out fully consist with research topic. They will consist of three chapters: introduction, conclusion, and list of literature, and each chapter contains clear conclusions. The design of thesis meets the standards. Practical value of the work is determined by the possibility to use the research sources and lecture and courses on stylistic on the English literature, language, and the comparative studies of the English and the Arabic languages, also at lecture courses on musicology and findings through the research works. Introduction contains an reasonable relevance of the work, goals, objectives, research methods, and provisions to be defined. The first chapter deals with description of progress and things in linguistics. The second chapter is investigation of linguistic regularities of progress and things in Arabic language. Also, the structure of progress and things, Arabic language, progress and things as a part of speech linguistic analysis on progress and things in Arabic literature have been discussed in three chapters. Generally, the present master's dissertation
Suggestionların conclusion buluşunda kaçınlar. Kolay kelisi var. Şefimiz ben.
Sorular var mı? We have positive reviews, yes. There is no any questions. So if we have any suggestions, I'd like to recommend you to set these suggestions and for further development, for growth further development. So in this case, this is the end of this part, yes. So thank you for the debate.
Previously, my expertise was training Masana compounds. Pragmatic features of compound sentences in English and Uzbek languages. Elimi başlasın. Filoloji alimlerinden de dersin yazmak
Sana bak. Sanabar, Hamza Kızı, we have a limit, you have limited time in 10 minutes. Yeah? Oh, the presentation, please.
Good morning, dear teachers and professors. I'm very glad to see you again. And today we will present the research on the topic of pragmatic features of compound sentences in English and Uzbek languages. Before I begin, we will define the topic of the research. It is pragmatic features of compound sentences in English and Uzbek languages. In this study, we focus on the compound sentences are used not only in terms of grammar, but also it's used in terms of pragmatic meaning. That is how speakers use them to perform actions like showing their intentions or making requests or giving their requests, giving their reasons. And we compare how these functions are interpreted in both languages, in English and Uzbek. And also, we will, the research explores the compound sentences, the relationships between the structure of the compound sentence and also the speaker's intention. And here, here the actuality of the work and the study of compound sentences from a pragmatic perspective is important in both languages because it helps reveal cross-cultural differences, and it also supports more effective language for teachers, translators, and also for language teaching. And it reflects modern linguistic interest in contextual meaning. So the next is the object of the research. Object of the research is focus on the pragmatic features, not only in the compound sentences, but it focus on pragmatic features in real communication. The subject of the research is the syntactic structure and pragmatic function of compound sentences in both languages. So, theoretical importance of the research is to advance the importance, advance the understanding of compound sentences in pragmatics. And the next is to contribute to pragmatics and discourse analysis, and provides a framework for further studies. The practical importance of this study is it's beneficial for teachers and translators. Of course, translators use practical input for translators. They can translate not only for grammar but also the side of the pragmatic meaning. And it can tasks of the research. The first one is define structure and types of compound sentences and explore the pragmatic features, compare the usage both across both languages, English and Uzbek, and also analyze examples from literature, books, and daily communication, daily speeches, and identify explanation for translation. So next one is the novelty of the research. The novelty is the research provides a comparative pragmatic analysis of compound sentences. In English, the compound sentences in English and Uzbek are were studied before, but pragmatic features of compound synthesis is insufficient. It was not studied well, so it helps to study the pragmatic side of the compound sentences in both languages. So, hypothesis of the research is the use of compound sentences in English and Uzbek reveals both universal discourse functions and language-specific pragmatic strategies. Learners can face difficulties in using the compound sentences, so it can master these forms due to pragmatic mismatches and differences in cross-combining strategies. So these are the methodological basis of the issue. We used the scientists and linguists researchers in this research. They are the Austin, Bryce, Searle, Leach, Levinson, and others. from Uzbek scholars such as Rahmatullayev, Abdazizov, and Barif, and others. And methods used in this research: descriptive method, comparative method, and analytical method, contextual method. Chapter 1, it's about the theoretical foundation of pragmatics. It's given brief information about the chapter 1 in theoretical foundation of pragmatics. Pragmatic studies how meaning is shaped by context, intention, and politeness. For example, in English, can you open the door? It's not a real question. It's a polite request, and in Uzbek, it can be translated. Eshikni ochib yuborsangiz bo'ladimi? It's not a literal question. It's asked pragmatically. The intention of this example is. Can you open the door? It's not asking something, but it's giving polite request. So next, syntactic and semantic features. Compound sentences coordinate independent clauses using conjunctions. For example, in English, he called me, but I didn't hear it. In Uzbek, it is translated, u menga qo'ng'iroq qildi, lekin men eshitmadim. This sentence is connected with the conjunction but, and the pragmatic functions, they express contrast, justification, or explanation. I didn't reply because I was tired. Men javob bermadim chunki charchagan edim. It express contrast and justify their speech in this sentence. So next. Chapter 2, it's about comparative analysis of compound sentences in English and Uzbek. The first one is another comparative analysis of English compound sentences. Here she studied all night, so she passed the exam. It's taken from Wolf, and full clauses and conjunctions express relationships clearly. It's understood clearly, and in Uzbek compound sentences, this sentence is omitted. U o'qidi, shuning uchun imtihondan o'tdi. U o'qidi, o'tdi. Here the subject and subject u, it's omitted, and shuning uchun imtihondan, it's also omitted, but we understood the meaning, what the speaker is saying about. Similarities and differences. There are some similar sides of in both languages, in English and Uzbek, and also different sides. And men bordim, u yo'q. I went.
Thank you. Time is up. Now we will move to the question stage. So please, remember, one question if you have.
So you mentioned one of the tasks of your dissertation paper is to reveal pragmatic features of authentic English and Uzbek texts. Can you provide these examples, please? Next, second my question about Arabic scholars who has investigated this topic. Are there any
Uzbek scholars? Okay, yeah. In my third chapter, I used examples from literary texts. For example, from so.
example, Hamit alınca ben vardım yok.
Yeah. For example, Hamid Alanjan, being Gordon Uyo. In this sentence, I went, but he was absent, and it's connected with comma. The pragmatic view.
For example,
It's omitted. Yeah, it's omitted in Uzbek. The conjunctions and some subjects can be omitted, but in English pragmatics, in English compound sentences, it's not omitted. For example, men gördüm uyu, but is omitted. We may use them.
Not satisfied.
I have one example. Can you analyze it? Okay. She excelled in mathematics and she hoped to become an engineer. What's the pragmatic analysis of this? Value of this sentence? The dedication or another thing, what is it?
It means I excelled and
I excelled in mathematics and she hoped to become an engineer.
that it's in this example it shows the implied meaning. It's not spoken directly. We don't know. We know from the context that by excelling from the mathematics, the author can be the mathematics.
What about our local scholars whose maybe articles we have investigated concerning compound sentence and grammatics of compound sentence? Are there any?
Yes, of course, there are so many Uzbek and English.
Nominate them.
Okay. In Uzbek, Chingiz Aytmatov from literary scholarly books, Jurayev, and also the syntaxes, about syntaxes he wrote, and also Boranov. Islam Hamrayev.
Salma Fedorovic, please, your question.
In the second chapter, you mentioned certain topic we've given similarities and differences of two languages. So what similarities do you find? Two languages.
The first similarity is in its structure of compound sentences. For example, in both languages, in English and also in Uzbek, they use the same structure. For example, I wanted to go, but it was raining. Men borishni istadim, lekin yomg'ir yog'ayotgan edi. In fact, the word order is changeable. The word order is not appropriate, but the structure of the sentence is the same in both languages. Because in English, the word order is subject plus verb plus object, but while in Uzbek, subject plus object and verb. So the next one similarity is use of conjunctions in both languages. But, so for example, in English, but and yet, however, use conjunctions, and also in Uzbek, such kind of and, lekin, biroq, ammo, such kind of conjunctions is used.
Okay, thank you. So please, Victoria Maymazovna.
Thank you. What kind of discourse functions? Can you give examples? those functions which you have analyzed, identified in your research, and how you classify it. Because you will put it in your tasks. Identify and classify these closed functions deformed by compound sentence in those lines. Examples.
Mm. For example, it's called in here, the speaker, for example, the speaker said, it's called in here. This means that, in pragmatically, this means that he or she is requesting, can you open the window? Can you close the window? We cannot understand the direct meaning, but we can understand it pragmatically. It is discourse analysis.
Discourse functions. And how you classify it.
Discourse analysis classified according to the assertive, dissertive, I don't know.
Okay, we don't know. Okay. So, Firuza, please.
Okay, I have two questions. The first is, what sources did you use in your application paper for English and Uzbek examples? And the second question is, what was the classification of choosing compound sentences?
Okay, the first question, I used English and Uzbek literary from literature from scholars, literature scholars. For example, in Uzbek, I used the works of Chingiz Aytmatov, Abdullah Qadri, Gulkan Kular, and Kichaba Kunduz, and other scholars' works I used in this research. And the next compound sentence classification. Okay, compound sentences are consist of two parts, and it's connected with the conjunction. And in English, it's used like in fanboys. For example, it's taken from for F. It's taken from for. It means the reason, and A for and. It's for addition, and N for more, negative meaning. It implies negative meaning, and B is for but. It contrasts the meaning, and O it means Y is it means yet. It also contrasts the meaning. Yet means but. So it's in order to be easier for learners, it's taken from voice in this system. And also satisfied.
Okay. So, Firuza, wait, Karim, sorry. Sorry. So now. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask you also one more question and one more suggestion at the end of the presentation. So what kind of books by George Orwell you have used? in your research work for analyzing.
Uh, I have used Orwell's Secker and Warburg.
Which one?
Secker and Warburg.
So why am I saying this? Because it wasn't included in the process, yes. Because you have given the author, but you have mentioned which book or which literary source you have used. So, for example, 79 George Orwell's book, which was published in 1984, and the second also 80 reference, George Orwell. In both of them, it's not mentioned. You have omitted the names of the sources. So you should, I think, pay attention and you should follow the requirements of the writing. Yes, it is really significant movement. You need to all your sources include into the list of reference. So other questions? No questions. Okay. Thank you for the members. Now let's move to the discussion part. So if you have any recommendations or other moments for paying attention, you are very welcome. Suggestions. Okay. So I would like to give you some suggestions. Sana Hamza, your hypothesis which you presented in your PowerPoint presentation related with the pedagogy or methodology, or let's say in your language pedagogy. So it is really about language pedagogy, but you linguistic research, or you have done linguistic research, so that in hypothesis you also indicate some linguistic problems which we face with, not teaching process. Linguistic should be a problem. So this is the first moment, and the second moment, almost in all list of examples, we can see, let's say, smash of the structures of the sentences. Why philosopher Perelna asked the question, what kind of criteria was for selecting compound sentences? Because I guess we're related with this problem. For example, you give here just simple sentence, yeah, but you investigate compound sentences, problem with the compound sentence. So in your further investigation, pay attention on criteria of selecting linguistic units for analysis. And then in your answers, you mentioned your, let's say, your work. And you said, I investigated, I included. Don't use I, because in your investigation we can see several people's, not power, how I can be formulate, support, for example, or work, your work, supervisors' work, scientists' work, authors of the literary text, all of them made one investigation, so that don't forget about their contribution to the work, so that it should be called, it should be used we, not I. Then pay attention on the pragmatics of the each questions. You are investigating pragmatics, but you didn't pay attention on the pragmatics of the questions. Why they are asking this question? With what kind of message? is going on. So, and why Firuza Karimbeddin asked about the literary text and the author, exact author, because in your presentation there is a lot of spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes. In one example, you presented the author's name, but at the same time in English you missed the name of the George Orwell, but you gave in front Hamid Ahuja. It's also rude mistake for the presentation. Yes, and other also punctuation mistakes presented in your PowerPoint presentation. So take into account these recommendations, and it will be helpful for your further development. So please, we have other recommendations. No, let's move to the next stage. Please, Sakura Platana, please, reviews. And I have a recommendation. Maybe we will pay attention on just conclusions.
It also applies appropriate research methods such as semantic analysis and contrasting linguistics and discourse analysis. For this is in mind also understanding the grammatical rules of compound sentences can aid both teaching and the translation practices between English and Uzbek. The results of the research were published in the form of two articles in Karabakh State University's division and scientific publications of master's work, and it's worth to evaluate the second volume of your methodological teaching aids and for teachers and students.
Okay, thank you, thank you. The second reviewer.
Second review.
Okay, so conclusion.
Yeah, I've got to say.
Did they recommend?
Yes. To sum up the dissertation of Sonovar Rimon, is carried out with a strong sense of academic responsibility and reflects also the ability to conduct productive research and engage with the diverse theoretical viewpoints. The work has been completed to high standard and has achieved its goal and deserves excellent mark.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if you don't have any questions, we have finished with all stages for this calendar. Thank you. Let's move to the next one.
Thank you.
Yeni başlangıç arkeoloji kullanılmaktadır. Geometry teması stylistic features of exhibits in English and Uzbek diction. Ilmi başlık PhD dersen dolayısıyla kapkalar verildi.
This was an answer. You have 10 minutes for presentation.
Good morning, dear teachers. Now I will present my dissertation topic. The topic of my dissertation is Sense Features of Effects in English in Uzbek Fiction. Before giving some information about my dissertation, now I'm going to introduce a little bit about the table of contents. It includes introduction, 3 chapters, and of course, conclusion and reference. In each chapter, we tried to give detailed information about specific points of my dissertation. And when it comes to brief overview of the dissertation, first of all, actuality. The actuality of my dissertation, evidence reveal key cultural, emotional, and artistic layers in literature. And second one, object. The object of my dissertation is ethics in two different languages, including English and Uzbek fictions. And subject, stylistic and semantic functions of ethics in fiction. The aim of my dissertation is to analyze and compare ethics in two languages. Novelty. The novelty is comparative analysis based on Galperion's theory, and of course, based on cultural differences. The tasks of the research is comparison of the ethics into different languages. Methods. The methods which I used in my research: comparative description, the structure of our research work includes introduction, 3 chapters, conclusion, and reference, including 77 pages. And now we can move on to main part of my dissertation, Chapter 1. The Chapter 1 of my dissertation is all about theoretical background. While doing research, when it comes to theoretical foundations, I base on Galperion's works. In his works, I found out about ethics. The ethic is a root in my dissertation. It originates from Greek language meaning epithon. It means in English added. It helped a lot to characterize a person, thing, or situation. It's like adjective. And while doing research, we found out some types based on Galperion's works. He separated some types. The first type is simple, I mean. For instance, bright eyes. It consists of one word. That's right, it's called like that. And second type is compound. For instance, heartbreaking news. And the third type, transferred epithet. Night, for instance, sleepless nights. Here, it doesn't belong to night, it belongs to a person. That's why this is called like that. And the last one, reverse. In the reverse type, epithet comes after a noun. It's just like an unusual. For instance, bright eyes, but when it comes to reverse epithet, eyes bright. It's used in literary in most cases. And chapter 2 of our dissertation, we tried to give information about ethics in English fiction. And of course, while giving information, we base on comparing two languages, ethics into different languages. And found out some examples, of course. We wanted to give information from using, children's speech. Here we can see some examples. For instance, Charles Dickens' work, Oliver Twist's line. Here we can see, "Please, sir, I want some more." It reflects here youth and naivety. It's used from a kid's language. And this chapter draws on works by scholars like Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist. And next chapter, one of the main chapters, chapter 3, it's all about ethics in Uzbek fiction. Here, we found some authors, especially Erkin Vahidov, and two just main works called Toy Nafası, and then Uzbegim. In his works, there are a lot of ethics. We try to give some of them. In chapter 3, we can read from Erkin Vahidov's works some ethics here. For instance, Dickens' use of melancholy child. It's used in Oliver Twist's and melancholy child. Here, there's emotional depth in it. On the other hand, in Erkin Vahidov's works, we can say Mihriban Halkım, my kind people. Here there is a meaning, strong sense of national identity. It is a big difference into fictions, big difference between English fiction and Uzbek fiction. And next one, please. My personal insights. We found out some personal insights here. Um, the main difference while translating from English language to Uzbek language or from Uzbek language to English language, in most cases, emotional or cultural layers may be lost to some extent. For instance, there is an example from David Copperfield, Poor Little Child. While translating, it means Bichora Bola. But there is kind of meaning is lost here. Some layer can be lost here. And on the other hand, Sirtosh Diorum from Irkin Bohidov, it is translated as sunny land. And there is a little bit meaning is lost, as just before David Copperfield's work. This shows that translation is not just linguistic, but it's creative act of conveying meaning. We cannot just translate directly. Of course, we should pay attention to the meaning. The meaning can be lost or not. And next one, conclusion. We found out a lot of information about ethics in two language fictions. In Uzbek, Erkin Vahidov's Uzbekim and Toy Nafası in English, Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, and David Copperfield. And we came to realize that episodes are powerful stealth tools for emotion, identity, and imaginary. Um, just we found out some differences at the same time, some similarities in different fictions. For instance, when it comes to English fiction writers just pay attention if it's mean realism, characterization. It is just main role. On the other hand, in Uzbek literature, it's used for cultural pride, poetic emotion. After doing research, cross-cultural comparison enhances stylistic understanding in our mind after learning a lot about them. Yeah, the last one is references, which we use during the research. We found out some references to use and actually to learn about before the dissertation. The first person I learned a lot is Galperian, and the work of him is statistics. And second one from English literature, Charles Dickens in his two works, David Copperfield and Oliver Twist. And from Uzbek fiction, Erkin Vahidov. Erkin Vahidov's two works.
Okay, time is up. Thank you for your presentation. Now, let's move to the question part. Dilbar Tashiratna, please, your question.
So, here's my question. Structural and semantic types of episodes in both languages. How do you differentiate them? So, one of the tasks is semantic and structural types. Are there differences between Uzbek and the English languages? Second question. Children's speech was your object of investigation? Because in the second chapter we see some paragraphs about children's speech. What can you say about it?
Okay.
Why do you use children's speech?
Okay. We found out some differences in. Can I answer?
Yes.
The first question was about differences into fictions, and we found out some differences, of course. The first difference. Okay. When it comes to semantic differences in English, it can be simple, compound, and transferred reverse types. When it comes to structural, for instance, it can be one word or multiple words in use.
Compound, maybe phrasing.
Yeah, I'm going to say compound. For instance, heartbreaking news. It is a compound.
Phrasing. Phrasing.
And second question was about children's speech.
What about Uzbek fiction? Episodes of the classified.
In Uzbek fiction, I think it can be like the same. For instance, I have witnessed the same effects in English in Uzbek. For instance, it can be single, it can be compound, it can also be transferred and reversed in Uzbek too.
So this one.
Second question.
Second question was about children's speech. Children's speech was given as an example because it is used for describing youth and naivety from the mouth of the writer. For instance, please, sir, give me more. From this sentence, we can just know the meaning. It means this naivety and youth. Youth. Um,
How it is connected?
orphan child, fetus child. Orphan child, fetus child. Here. It's used for children by Charles Dickens.
It was the object, children's speech, investigated.
It's used for children. When it comes to children's speech, it was charming lady. In most cases, in children's speech, they express in an exaggerated way. For instance, instead of saying tall building, it was used like giant building because they thought what they say with exaggerated imagination.
But may I clarify the question, please? So the question is, the message of the question is, your main object of investigation is literary text. Yes? For example, Oliver Twist. And if you are going to investigate Oliver Twist, why you investigated children's speech? What is the reason of investigating children's speech in your dissertation? Clear, not clear?
Thank you.
What is the connection between children's speech and literary text? Yes.
Should I answer or is there a second question?
No, this is clarification of the question, and based on this message, please answer for the question.
The reason why I chose children's speech in here because while reading his work, especially Oliver Twist, he paid attention more children's speech in his works by using epithets.
Yes. Okay, let's move to the next person. So please, Benjamin, I have a question.
You have a question, but which types of topics have you found in comparatively in Oliver Twist and Uzbek?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Please, can you repeat please?
Repeat the question, please.
What types of episodes? Yeah.
Yeah.
What types of epics have you found in the work, in the literary work of builders in Oliver Twist?
Okay. I found out some types. The first type is simple. For instance, bright eyes. It was used there. Bright eyes, simple type. And compound type too. it was used like heartbreaking news. It was used there. And it consists of two words and reverse type too. Instead of using blue sky, it was used sky blue, reverse type. These three types I found out, yeah, three types.
For example, which of the most used, for example, in earlier
In most cases, it was used the first type, simple. It consists of one word. One word it was used there. In other this is what.
Next person, Sarah, please, with your question.
So, in your second one, so after the beginning, the second biggest and the third technical biggest. So, what's the similarity of what kind of index do you find? Just sets a difference. Difference like
Again, related with all of the Tunis and Uzbek. What is the similarities of these two works?
I see. The similarity here in both fictions, it was used metaphors. Metaphor. That's why I just put that. No, into fictions. Into fictions. In Uzbek fiction, Erkin Bohig's Koyna Hase, Uzbekian, and English fiction, David Copperfield and Oliver Twist. The similarity is here. It was object, it was used metaphors.
But you investigate opposite.
No, I feel, and at the same time, it was used there, the same types too, the same types of effects. I mentioned Galverians separated sometimes simple, compound, reverse, transform, and these are similarities. In both fictions, they are used.
Next, please. No question. Please, no question.
Yeah, you mentioned in your presentation paper that you used qualitative method, yeah, qualitative interviews.
Quality interview?
Yeah. Can you say me where did you use it and where did you use the results of this method? In which paragraph?
So, in your dissertation, part, there is given in methods or the qualitative interview. So, where did you use it and where is the results?
Qualitative
Interviews. It was given in your dissertation.
Are there any interviews you've taken?
Where is the results of this interview?
You mean interviews just like a real interview, which
We don't know, please. Sorry, you wrote in your dissertation this analysis, qualitative interview. So, where did you use it, and what was the results of this interview, and where it is in your dissertation? Because it should be included in your dissertation.
when it comes to the interview, while before doing our research, first of all, I wanted a kind of small interview with my group mates or with the people who are in the field English literature about ethics.
Stop. Where these questions in your dissertation, on what page?
Where
Yes.
I
on
give
what page?
I give this my personal insights.
If it is technical mistake, you need just tell that this is technical mistake. Don't use any false material here, or don't say any false. Just say, this is correct, this is wrong, this is right.
It is not given in the dissertation, but in the presentation, I give my personal
Where it is in
on.
presentation, don't use such kind of fake materials. Why do this is just personal insight.
Based
Where?
on, there is
What
not given,
questions of the interview?
there is not given interview the word here, but it is the result.
Take out in this case this analysis from dissertation.
Okay.
Just accept that this is technical mistake. That's all. Clear?
Yeah.
Please, Firuza, can you do now, please? Okay. We have finished with the questions. Now it's time to the discussion. If you have any recommendations, suggestions, please, you are very welcome. So in this case, I'd like to conclude this presentation. You are rolling around the topic, but you can't give us exact results because you said in the dissertation, you indicated that the object of your dissertation is Twist and Uzbek. But at the end, you added one more from Uzbek, one more from English literary text objects. So there is some misunderstanding between these objects. Object should be one, or of course, yes, it can be 2, 3, 4, but indicated object is just from English one, from Uzbek one. Don't mix them. So then, you in the PowerPoint presentation, you mentioned that the main chapter of the dissertation, third chapter, but you in the third chapter you analyze it just Uzbek episodes. How? Why? Because we are going to compare the topic of your work. If you don't know stylistic features of episode in English and Uzbek, so there should be comparison of two languages. Where is the comparison? You nominated just Uzbek language. Where is it English? So, if the main part of the dissertation is the third part, you should nominate the third part chapter similar with the name of the dissertation, or topic of the dissertation. Then, follow the ethical principles of the scientific research. Clear? And the most important one is scientists may I'll just read it. Confused, but not lie. Clear? This is the most important one. Don't lie in the next scientific stages of the work. Clear? Not clear. So, other recommendations? No? Thank you for your presentation. Now, about review. Japanese Uzbek language after the Kenyans.
Despite minor shortcomings such as occasional repetition in the limited example form of contemporary text, the work is well structured, informative, and the reflects the author's ability to conduct independent research. In conclusion, the presentation by articulated study meets the requirements for the master's dissertation and it deserves a high assessment.
The second reviewer,
Second reviewer, and they also successfully applied relevant stylistic theories and linguistic methods cutting prominent scholars, and the dissertation contains a comprehensive bibliography and demonstrated the ability to analyze and interpret particularly stylistic devices effectively. The conclusion summarizes the results and the impacts of contribution of the research, English, and the particularly statistics. The dissertation meets all the academic requirements and it can be recommended for defense.
thank you, thank you. So, positive recommendations. So in this case, the presenter from the exactly, thank you for your presentation. Now it's time to the grammar. Bahwa sistem masalah yang perfection. Juga na presiden dan hanya musim itu bahwa aisyah sta zerah misalnya terbulas mai hanya musim musim itu bahwa sta kosai süt mali ke buli süt bu kaşaşma iş yapıyor.